Hello and welcome to this video called an API journey from mock to deployment. I'm Laurent and I'm working as a solution architect at Red Hat on the middle year portfolio and on the OpenShift container platform. And today I'm here with Nicolas.
Hello, I'm Nicolas, a solution architect at Red Hat too.
Yeah, so nice, Nicolas. And the goal of this video today is to draw you an overview of what could be an agile delivery process, because as API is becoming mainstream, a lot of focus is put onto development and onto API gateway, but we do think that the whole process should go agile too, and we are going to talk today about the design of the API contract, the testing and the mocking, also of course the implementation of an API, and the deployment, the monitoring of an API into production. We will have a little role play and tell you a little story about that. Nicolas will play a project manager that is eager to deploy its API into production, and I will play the role of a technical leader that helps him putting milestone in the project and finding solution to secure the whole delivery. Okay? So, Nicolas, would you please pitch us the story?
For sure. So we are working at Acme, which is a local brewery that produce, sell, and and distribute beers all around the world. The whole process is managed by Acme. So, but increasing competition and growing demand from our customer base force us to rethink our distribution model. Namely, distribution will be left to independent resellers that will be able to sell our beers locally, online, or on site. The main question is how to open up the information system.
Yeah, with an API, of course. No?
And every company is now a software company. So every transformation, every business transformation has impact on the information system. So true skills are required. But you are a Top Gun, Laurent, aren't you?
For sure, Nicolas. So let's start. Do not wait. Do you have any specification for this new API? Do you already know which are the business features that you want to expose and to offer to your consumers?
Well, as you guys know, but it's easy. It's easy.
Yeah,
it's all about beers. So having beers, drinking beers, being drunk. Not this one. Not this one.
Okay, so let's just start by building some kind of a sandbox API, so that you can start playing with your API and then refine your needs. And for that, I propose having a look at Microx. Microx is a tool dedicated to mocking and testing into an API or microservices world. It is acting as a repository, so that you just have to browse your catalog and then find out the different mocks for your different API. And whilst in Microx we promote a contract-first approach, there's also some kind of a backend as a service. Okay, it is called a dynamic API. So you just create an API and named it. This is a beer catalog API, and this is a sandbox, so the version is 0.1. And you just tell the resource you want to manage with this API. It's a beer resource. And Microx will create for us a new generic API that allows you to start playing with those concepts, with those operations. Okay, these are the different operations that are available on this API. So basically you can start just interacting with it using, for example, simple curl commands, and then you can create a new beer. That's it. Create another beer, and create a third one. Within this dynamic API, Microx has recorded everything into a repository. Okay, you can see here the different beer we have recorded, so you can later query this repository getting all the beers that you have previously recorded, like this, and even using some kind of domain-specific language for request. Okay, specifying, for example, that you want only the beer coming from the Belgium country. Okay, that's it. You may start playing with your API, and you may use those dynamic endpoints to start refine your needs. What do you think, Nicolas?
Oh, I think that's cool. I will give it a try, and yeah, as you told me, I will refine my need.
Okay, so see you later.
Oh, thank you, Laurent. Hello, Laurent.
Hi, Nicolas. How are you today?
Fine.
Fine.
Yeah. So I discussed with the business team.
Okay.
And we came up with an MVP, a minimum viable product. So our MVP is about to expose our inventory to our resellers, so that they can be able to find our beers, get detailed about beers,
Okay.
check the status of a beer, if it's in inventory or not.
Okay, so these are read-only operations.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do the API contract together. Okay?
Sure.
And for that specific task, I recommend having a look at Epicurio, that is an open source project sponsored by Red Hat, and that aim at providing an online editor for easily designing API contract. Okay. Epicurio, it is a WYSIWYG online editor that tremendously simplify the edition of the contract. So here, Nicolas, I'm just opening Epicurio, and I have just designed your API. So this is a new API, beer catalog API in version 0.9, and I have specifying different paths with different operations. Okay, and I have also defined a custom definition of what a beer should look like. It has, for example, a country attribute, a name attribute, rating, and so on and so forth. I have also added description and documentation onto everything, and Epicurio has checked for me if the contract is compliant with the Swagger or Open API specification. Once it is okay, it has committed everything into a Git repository. Nice, isn't it?
I'm already loving it.
Yeah?
I just have another problem.
Yeah, tell me.
Basically, we have found our first reseller, and they asked us if we could provide them with a mock so that they can develop their client implementation without waiting for us. Do you think you could provide this for something for me, or do I need to hire more developers?
No, not yet. No problem. Let's create the mock so that your resellers will be able to rapidly start playing with the API. So for that, we will use two tools. We will use Postman and Microx, that you already heard about it yesterday. Okay. So in order to create so meaningful mocks, you'll need an editor to easily capture real-world request and response samples. For that, we will use Postman because we are dealing with a REST API, but we could also have used SOAP UI, for example, if we were dealing with legacy SOAP web services. So via Postman, I'll be able to import the API contract we've just designed into Epicurio, and it can find out the three different operations I've just designed. And via Postman, I'll be able to easily edit samples. Okay, so for example here, if I want to have a beer called Weiss beer, this is the kind of response I expect from the API. If I want to list the different beers within the catalog, this is the kind of response I expect from the API. So using Postman, you will be able to describe real-world request and response, and then save everything as a JSON file called a collection. Collection can be later versioned into a Git repository, and it's definitely a good practice to version everything so that you can easily add collaborators that can enrich the set of samples throughout the time of the API. Okay, and once the collection has been saved, then we can use microx here to produce just live mocks from these samples. Microx has this concept of an importer. An importer is just a simple API, a simple URL that you can pull. For example, here I get my importer for my beer catalog, and I just put here my URL. It is pulled regularly, okay, and microx will take care of discovering services and API definitions, as well as discovering the samples. So you just have to create it, to activate it, okay, and to force the import of the service definitions. And when we get back to our catalog, we can find this new beer catalog API in version 0.9 with the 3 operations we just designed and real life samples for this operation. So for example here, if I want my Weiss beer I just designed, is just up here copying this URL and then using simple curl command to check that our mock is up and ready to use. So you can easily just give this URL to your resellers so that they can start using your API even before you have started the implementation. What do you think, Nicolas?
Oh, I think that's so cool. I will take the URL and give it to my first reseller so that they can play with the mock.
Yeah, nice. That's it. See
Thank
you
you.
later. Bye.
Hello, Laurent.
Hello, Nicolas.
The development of our API skyrocketed. We are so close to have our first version, and now we are about to publish it to our first resellers so they can have a sneak peek, and we would like to collect feedback from them. I initially thought that we could borrow some machines from the IT department, but they are not very cooperative. Do you think you could help me on this one?
Yeah, definitely. It's your lucky day, Nicolas. Let's deploy your API implementation to OpenShift. And do you know OpenShift?
No.
No? So OpenShift is the Red Hat platform as a service. It is based on container technologies, but don't be afraid, you don't have to know all the bits and bytes of containers to be able to easily deploy on it. Do you already have your source code available somewhere?
Yeah, sure. The source code is in Git repository.
Okay, that's the email you sent me earlier. Okay, nice. And what is the technology that you picked for your code?
The developer picked Spring Boot.
Yeah, fantastic. We've got native support of Spring Boot into OpenShift. So let's start and let's connect to our OpenShift cluster. So basically, we will start by creating you your own project so that you won't be annoyed by anyone. You will be totally isolated. Okay, so this is the beer catalog development project. Okay, this is just as easy, and you've got your own workspace. Okay, and now you can just browse the catalog, pick the JDK base image. Okay, just give it a name. This is your implementation, so I will call it beer catalog implementation. Okay, and just paste here the URL of your Git repository. Then you have to create, and you will see that OpenShift is starting initializing some stuffs for your application. So it has created a deployment configuration. It has creating some networking related objects like a service, like a route, to be able to expose your application once it will be created. And it has also started a build. Okay, so it is being extracted your source code. It will be packaged, and then it will create a container image for you. And once this image will be available, it will be deployed on this environment. Okay, let's wait a few minutes. And that's it, Nicolas. your implementation of your API has just been deployed and is now available on OpenShift.
Whoa, my API is live.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How do I make sure that my implementation match my API specification?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, you could have defined some integration test using Postman, okay, and then Microx will be able to reuse those tests to ensure that your API implementation is compliant with those expectations, okay?
Okay.
So let's just see how you can specify integration test using Postman. And connect to the collection. And you see, tests are really helpful to ensure that some semantic rules or business rules of your API are correctly implemented. For example, when I list the beer having a status, I should only receive the beer items that have that specific status, not another one. And that's behavior expectation that I can specify here using some snippet of JavaScript code. So for example, I'm redefining an inline schemas for the response of this API call. You remember the JSON collection file we have talked earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Tests are recording inside, and so Microx is able to get them and reuse them. And once you're on a service detail page like this, you're now able to run new tests according a deployment of your implementation. So basically, if I take just the OpenShift route we just deploy here and paste it here, adding the API context, I can specify a test runner and I say I want to reuse the expectation I put into the Postman collection, and I can launch a new test upon this deployed endpoint. The tests are going in live. The page is refreshing. And finally, all your tests have passed here. And you can have all the details of the message exchange with Postman, for example. So you can get to the full results here and have all the details of the payload, the body, the headers that were exchanged with your implementation. So everything seems good right now. Everything is green.
Okay, my API implementation is confirmed.
Yes, that's
Perfect. I will tell the API development team about it.
Nice.
Thank you, Laurent.
See you later, Nicolas.
Laurent, the development team pursued the implementation. All the tests are passing, and now we would like to deploy the API into production.
Yeah.
But it's a tremendous amount of work to deploy the API in all our environments. It will take ages to go to production. And not counting that if we have some issues, we need to redeploy and the project could be at risk. So I will make you a confidence, Laurent.
Tell me, Nicolas.
I started to drink to forget about all my problems. Isn't that a twist of a fate?
You're too serious, Nicolas. You don't have to test all the beers from the catalog to be a good project manager. So don't be depressed. Let's deploy your application into production using OpenShift. In order to get things easy and repeatable, I have started writing a single script to do that. So let's start launching the script. Okay, just called deploy pipeline. Okay, and basically what is going to do this script is creating a new environment, a test environment, a production environment that will be a mirror of the development environment, so that you can easily deploy your application through different stages and being confident before releasing everything into production. So let's see what the script is doing. Normally, yes, we have now a new environment. We have a test environment that is being initialized, okay? We have also a production environment that is being initialized as a mirror of the development and the test, of course. We have also created and this can be viewed here. We have also created a pipeline. It will appear just right here, so that this pipeline will use Jenkins, a continuous integration and continuous deployment orchestrator, to easily stage your different deployment. And within this pipeline definition, we have also added an extra step, just to show you the configuration, extra step that will reuse microcs, so that we will be able to test into your development environment that the new release, the newly deployed implementation is still compliant with your API contract, so that you will be really confident in what you are releasing. Okay, so let's wait a few minutes so that the pipeline is running and we can check the results.
Okay.
Ta-dam! Everything has now been deployed into test environment and production environment. And we can even check that our test has succeeded. So if we get back to the Microx UI and just browsing the test history, we can see here a new test here and get access to all the details, so that we can retrieve the traces and exchanges done through Microx. And you see, it's really helpful for troubleshooting and comparing differences between different environments. What do you think, Nicolas?
That's super cool.
Super cool.
I'm loving it.
Okay. See you later, Nicolas.
Thank you. Laurent, I'm scared.
No. Tell me, Nicolas.
We forgot to handle authentication, access control and governance. We are spammed by a lot of requests on our production endpoint. We don't know if the requests are legitimate or forged. The security team wants my head dead or alive.
Dead or alive? Am I supposed to choose?
Oh, very funny.
Okay, Nicolas, don't be scared. I think I've got a solution for you. For this, we're gonna deploy the Red Hat Treescale API management system. Okay, Treescale is the Red Hat solution for having a better control on how you expose your API to the outer world. It will allow you to define some authentication policies, some rate control, and to have generally much more control on how you expose your API. Okay, guess what? Treescale is easily deployable onto OpenShift. So, like the previous stages, to make things easy and repeatable, I have prepared a deployment script so that we will deploy the Treescale gateways on our test environment and also on our production environment. Let's do that.
Okay.
So I can just use my tiny script deploy Treescale. Okay, and what is going to do this script is just, let me show you on your OpenShift cluster, deploy some gateway configuration onto your environment. Okay, that is the first step. The second step of my script is also to update the pipeline we have previously defined, so that we can integrate into this pipeline extra stages like deploying the gateway, like also declaring the new API into the Treescale backend also, so that we are able to automate everything. So when you're developing a new API version, it will automatically declare everything onto the Treescale backend and configure your Treescale gateways accordingly. Okay?
Okay.
So let's wait a few minutes so that we can check the results of the pipeline.
Okay.
So Nicolas, our pipeline is just finishing, and we have already deployed your API and your API management gateway into test environment. So looking at the pipeline, you see there is some additional stages here that consist in declaring everything to the Treescale API management backend. So when I'm going to this backend and just hit refresh, I can see that there is new API declarations. There is your API on the test environment, still the version 0.9, and the same one at the prod environment, still on version 0.9.
Okay.
The version we did put into our API contract, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so just to test things out, did you get some kind of a sample application for your resellers or something?
One of our resellers just sent me his mobile application.
Okay.
So I sent you the link.
Oh, that's the link. Okay. So just to check that everything is okay, we can go to this API here.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, sorry. Getting to the subscriptions here, and we can just check the application. There is no application, and we have to declare one application in order to test it, so that we will retrieve our user key to authenticate to the application. So as the John Doe developer, I can have access to my application and just create a new one, okay, for the default application plan that has been created by our pipeline. So this is my beer catalog app, and just put a description here. So once I have created my application, I just get a user key that I can copy and paste into the configuration of my application. Okay, so just put it here and there. So I've just copy paste my user key here. I'm saving my configuration file, and then in the browser, okay, I can just copy paste the URL you give me, and that's it. I've got my beer catalog with all the beers coming from my API implementation. Okay. If I'm going back to the 3-scale backend, I can check regarding analytics. Okay, so I can just check that, hey, I am now able to list beer within the catalog and get analytics on this operation invocation. Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's super.
So we've built a complete pipeline, and we've deployed everything from development to production, going through the test stages, and we have automatically declared all our API management stuffs, like the rate control, like the API, the authentication policy. Okay, and that's it. Nicolas, your API is live.
Perfect. You saved my life. One more time.
One more time. So, Nicolas, if we try to sum up things, all the things that you've learned during this week, because actually it took a week to deploy everything. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned this week?
Yeah, for sure. We first refined our needs using macros. We then moved to the API contract using Appicurio. We used Postman to define some examples that are then used by macros to generate mocks. We developed our first version of our API using Spring Boot.
Yes.
We deployed it on OpenShift. We defined some tests using Postman that have been verified by macros against our first implementation. We used Jenkins to deploy our first implementation in all our environments automatically.
Yes.
And we are using Freescale to manage our APIs and get some analytics and manage the authentication against our APIs.
Yes, that's it. And last but not least, we now sell a lot of beers all over the world. Acme is so successful. So we can oversee some bright future for Acme, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. So we added a solid API in front of our information system, and we can now decouple our producer from our consumers. So we are ready to grow.
Yeah.
And we may acquire some more companies, and we might need an integration product like Red Hat Fuse, for example, to integrate those heterogeneous things.
Yeah.
But I think that's something for another story.
Yeah, that's a great idea, but maybe later. Okay, so just to conclude, the story we just tell you today in fast-forward mode is just an illustration of a broader full life cycle API management that we are working on actually at Red Hat. And you can see on this schema that the API strategy is at the very core of this life cycle and needs to be well thought out and well defined before starting things up. Then you may start with the loop on the left, including design, mocking, testing, implementing and deploying phases. The loop on the right is the operational one regarding running API and making them consumable. And both loops should then provide you some insights on how to adapt your strategy for the next iteration. What you see is that this life cycle may involve many Red Hat products or community projects. We definitely promote the separation of concern. We do not having one tool covering everything, but we are working on making the transition more fluid between the different tools. So definitely you have to stay tuned to see what's coming next between these different tools. So Nicolas, the word of the end, maybe?
Yeah, so thank you for your attention, and we hope you enjoyed this video.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.